Hi there, welcome to the latest edition of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this one is quite an alarming story about a BBC editor who has been paid to defend some of the most heinous criminals, foreign criminals in the UK, and give reasons in court why they should not be deported. It beggars belief. And this story has been brought to my attention, thankfully, from a guy on X, formerly known as Twitter, who goes by the handle of Let's Talk About Criminality. He tagged me in this last night, and I only noticed it today. And the story is an exclusive in the Daily Mail by two journalists, Mark Hookham and Sam Merriman. I'll put a link to their article in the description. And I need to thank them because they seem like journalists who have been able to do some investigative work to put this story in the public domain. Hence, I feel it worthy of sharing the said story because it is absolutely shocking. Okay? Now, let me just read it out to you and I'll give you my opinion as we progress. The headline is, amid disbelief that chemical attacker was allowed to stay in the UK, BBC editor who is paid to help 15 Somalian criminals stay in the UK quits the BBC after a shock Mail expose. The story says a BBC editor was hired as an expert witness to help at least 15 Somalian criminals fight deportation, including a vile offender who sexually attacked a deaf teenage girl. Last year, the Mail on Sunday exposed how Mary Harper, Africa editor for the World Service, was paid to give expert witness evidence for Somali gang rapist Yaqub Ahmed during his 5-year legal battle to stay in the UK. Now an investigation by this newspaper can reveal Miss Harper has given expert witness evidence in a string of other controversial deportation appeals by Somali offenders, including for another 3 sex attackers, 3 drug dealers and a career criminal who spent a decade in British jails. Following a series of questions from the Mail on Sunday, the BBC last night announced that Ms Harper was leaving the corporation but refused to say whether she'd been sacked or had quit. In one of the most shocking cases, Ms Harper warned that a Somali man who committed a horrific sexual attack on a profoundly deaf 17-year-old girl would be at severely heightened risk if he was sent back to Somalia because he'd committed a sex crime. Now I need to just stop reading out this story for a second just to consider this horrible individual, Ms Harper. Who in their right mind could stand up and beg for a sex attacker who sexually attacked a 17-year-old deaf girl? There is nothing in that description that makes it acceptable. But Miss Harper, being paid to do so, takes to the stand to plead for him not to be deported back to Somalia because they might not like having to deal with a sex criminal. So we should have to deal with him in the United Kingdom. You absolute treacherous cow. The story goes on. A judge disagreed and threw out his appeal against deportation. Well done, that judge. Astonishingly, this newspaper had discovered that 16 months later, the 29-year-old attacker, who the Mail on Sunday is banned from naming due to a court order, has still not been kicked out of Britain and is living with relatives in a council flat. The shocking revelation comes just days after it emerged that an Afghan man currently on the run after a horrific chemical attack was granted asylum despite having a conviction of sexual assault. This tells you everything that is wrong with the UK as far as immigration right now. Nobody has a problem with legal immigration. Nobody has a problem where people's lives are in danger throughout the world and possibly giving them safe passage to your country. These things are acceptable. But this sort of nonsense is not acceptable to me nor anybody else. Now, this is the sort of thing that when people speak out about it, they're brandished as racist, they're brandished as bigots, they're brandished as right-wing and far-right and all this Nazi stuff, okay? I am neither. I am a concerned British citizen who's fed up listening to this sort of shite happening in our country. And I'll guarantee you, without having any knowledge of Miss Harper, I will be prepared to put £1 to every penny anyone wants to bet me that she is a lefty, tree-hugging apologist of the highest order. I'll continue with the story. Miss Harper's extensive work as an expert witness last night plunged the BBC into an impartiality row. Tory Deputy Chairman Rachel Maclean MP said she was flabbergasted at the number of immigration cases Ms Harper had been involved in and demanded the corporation review its guidelines. What are the families of those affected by the criminal thinking when BBC employee is given evidence to say they should stay in the country? She said, to me, there is something very wrong with that. Our exclusive investigation also reveals how Miss Harper suggested that a violent criminal convicted of assault and robbery would be at risk from terrorists in Somalia, as his tattooed arms would see him as a sign of homosexuality. Miss Harper, this violent criminal who was convicted for assault and robbery should be of no concern to any British people and how his own people should view his tattoos. And I find it highly doubtful that they would find them as a sign of homosexuality. And if they did, that is his problem, not mine. She claimed another prolific criminal would face great difficulties in Somalia due to a lack of family and financial support. Despite the court hearing, the offender's mother had enjoyed 3 holidays in Dubai. Miss Harper warned a third criminal's long history of offending in the UK, 39 convictions for 80 crimes over 17 years, would result in him being shunned by his clan if he returned to Somalia. I've got news for you, Miss Harper. His clan had already shunned him. He is here. He's not worried about being shunned by any clan. He left them. His problem. A Somali who flooded a Hampshire town with drugs was allowed to stay in the UK after Miss Harper gave evidence. Ahmed Ali Jama, 29, claimed he would be in danger in Somalia because his father and sister are popular singers. Are you kidding me on? I need to get this in my head. We've got a guy who floods a town with drugs, who's Somalian, and when we have a hearing to decide if he should be deported or not, this crackpot goes up on the stand and suggests we shouldn't because he'll be shunned in Somalia because his father and sister are popular singers. I've got news for you. Whether he's here or in Somalia, his father and sister are still popular singers, and I'd kind of guess they'd shun him regardless of where he lives. How is that a problem for the British taxpayer? It is not our problem. It is his problem. You know, the criminal. Judges twice questioned Miss Harper's objectivity, and in a third case branded some of her evidence speculative and not supported by any broad range of views. In another tribunal, the Home Office said information she had mistakenly attributed to a terrorist source was in fact obtained from an office cleaner. This woman is a pathological lying cow who takes money to try and get criminals to remain in the United Kingdom. That is treacherous behaviour beyond pale. It doesn't finish there. Educated at the £42,000 a year Bedales School in Hampshire, Miss Harper became a BBC Africa editor in 2009. The mother of 2 first visited Somalia in 1994 at the height of its civil war and has written books about the nation and Al-Shabaab terror group. Good for you. On her website, she describes herself as an expert witness in Somali-related legal cases, as well as referring to her job at the BBC. Court papers reveal that she has been providing expert witness evidence in immigration cases for at least a decade, and has links with Wilson Solicitors, the London law firm that represented Yaqub Ahmed during his relentless cycle of dubious human rights appeals. Ahmed, 34, who was jailed in 2008 for raping a 16-year-old girl, was deported last August, 5 years after his removal was thwarted following a mutiny of virtue signalling passengers on the same flight. These people should be ashamed of themselves. The Mail on Sunday has identified 12 immigration cases in which Wilson solicitors asked Miss Harper to either write a report or give evidence in court. Despite repeated requests, Miss Harper and the BBC have refused to disclose how much she has been paid to give evidence. Legal sources say expert witnesses can be paid £2,500 for producing a report in a legal aid funded case. 7 of the 15 Somali criminals whose cases involved evidence from Miss Harper's were successful in their appeals. The Home Office last night refused to say how many others had been deported. In 2019, Miss Harper provided evidence during a bid to block the deportation of a Somali who had been jailed for 5 years for an appalling sex attack. Wow. Known as AMW after a court order was imposed to protect his anonymity, the man, now 29, repeatedly sexually assaulted his deaf 17-year-old girlfriend at a party in 2013, causing her to scream in pain after she objected to having sex with another woman. Court papers state that he attacked a girl who has learning difficulties and mental health problems to humiliate and punish her. In 2018, the Home Office stripped him of his refugee status and issued a deportation order, prompting a human rights challenge. The next year, after considering a report from Ms. Harper, an immigration judge allowed AMW's appeal, but the decision was challenged by the Home Office and referred to the Upper Immigration Tribunal. Ms. Harper's evidence again formed a crucial part of the case. She warned that if deported to Mogadishu, he would be at risk because of his lack of understanding of Somalia's capital. What? He would be at risk because of his lack of understanding of Somalia's capital? What is going on here? She wrote, I believe the facts that AMW has never been to Somalia, does not speak the language well, has no family or other contacts in the country, and has committed a sexual offence would make it impossible for him to survive. But in September 2022, a judge dismissed AMW's appeal, saying his analysis differs markedly from Mrs. Harper's. Despite the ruling, AMW's brother last week told a Mail on Sunday reporter that the offender remains in the UK, living with relatives in a flat, and the cousin added, he's already served his time, he's a free person right now. In another astonishing case, Miss Harper provided expert reports for Somali drug dealer Ahmad Ali Jami, who was jailed for 4 years and 8 months in May 2018 after he admitted his role in a county lines network that had distributed more than 1 kilogram of Class A drugs to Aldershot in Hampshire. He'd been previously jailed for 26 weeks of possession of a knife in 2013 and 13 months in 2015 after he was involved in a fight outside a kebab shop. The 29-year-old claimed during an immigration tribunal that he would be in danger from Islamists if sent back to Mogadishu because his father and sister were popular Somali singers. This is vile, disgusting, and almost unbelievable. But we have people in this country being paid to defend these people when courts are hearing if they should be extradited back to their own, not extradited is even the wrong word, sent home. And people charge money for this, stand up in court and talk utter shite and tell folk lies like, this is a cracker, I obtained this evidence from a terror group. No, you didn't. A cleaner gave you it. You, Miss Harper, should be deported. Nobody would stop you in a plane getting flung out the country because you are one horrible individual. You profit from trying to keep these people in the United Kingdom with no consideration or care for the victims or their families or any potential victims after these people are not sent home. You, Miss Harper, are one of the most despicable creatures I've ever done a video about. You're disgusting. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you subscribe, hit the notifications and join in the discussion in the comments, please. But most importantly of all, despite having to listen to about terrible, terrible stuff like this, try and have a great day. Bye now.